Hello and welcome to Sunday Run Day, the podcast. Our guest this week on the show is Miriam, and Miriam has come on the show to talk a lot about her journey in the running world, but also how it is balancing being a marathon runner, a mum, and a med student as well. So, first of all, I really want to thank you for taking the time out to join the show.
No, thank you, Clint. I really appreciate you reaching out and having me on.
It's so good to have you on. And I'd love to touch on a little bit around the start of how you got into running. Now, you found running at such a young age as well. How was that for you with your journey to moving to Australia at a young age as well, and then getting into running?
Yeah, so I was born in Casablanca, and my family and I moved to Australia when I was 4, so quite young. We lived in Sydney for a while, and then in 2009 we moved to Tasmania. For me, it was a bit of a culture shock, especially moving from Sydney to Tassie because there weren't many Moroccans in Sydney, let alone Tasmania. And I struggled a lot with my self identity, and I was bullied quite a bit for wearing the hijab and for being Muslim and just looking very different to my other peers. And yeah, I really struggled with that. And then during primary school, did get bullied quite a bit for, I guess, my looks, and I developed really poor self-esteem and mental health, and eventually that sort of led to a path of um, me becoming very self-conscious, and I later got diagnosed with an eating disorder and was in and out of hospital for most of my teenage years, almost sometimes up to 2 months at a time being in the hospital, and then yeah, that really had a negative impact on me. But I actually am really grateful for that experience because it taught me so much about myself. And it has also allowed me to meet some amazing people who have helped me to become the person that I am today. Yeah, so through that, I actually, my doctor at the time recommended that I um, move schools because the school that I was at where I was getting bullied wasn't really helping me. And I moved to an all-girls school called Ogilvy High, and I met some amazing and beautiful girls there who actually got me into running. They suggested that I enter my first fun run, which was the City to Casino fun run, and it was a 7K run. And I was a bit hesitant at first. I never saw myself as a runner, but I really need to sign up and give it a go and ideas. Um, and I actually fell in love with running. I remember just being in awe, seeing people from all walks of life at the start line. It was nothing that I thought that everyone was like super fit, that you had to be super fit to enter a fun run, but you can walk, you can run, you can just make the most of it. And I really, really enjoyed it. And it really, I guess you could say I caught the running bug after finishing that 7K run. And I started participating in normal fun runs. I signed up for inter-club cross country. So every Saturday, I, participated in a cross country race, and I really, really fell in love. And I actually surprised myself. I started winning some races, and I represented Tasmania in a few national cross country events. Yeah, and I guess just from there, I just kept on, yeah, running it, as you can say. Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing that as well. Like, it's such a difficult thing for you to experience in life in general, as you say, moving at such a young age to a completely different country and then moving from sort of a busier city into a smaller area of Tasmania and going through what you went through. And, I was so fortunate that you're here with us to just explain your story as well and being able to talk about that you did find running, you found a group of people that were supportive when you needed it as well with everything you went through. And I do really appreciate you taking the time out to share that as well. It's such a difficult thing. And then at a young age, you got into running, as you say, you got the running bug. You were then you representing Tasmania on many levels. But I wanted to touch on about as well your first marathon that you undertook when you were 15 years old. What was that like when you decided to at 15? I mean, not many people that young would think I'm going to run a marathon. But what was that for you? To think I'm going to run a marathon, but also making such awareness for the causes that you're running for.
Yeah, no, so, at the time, I, you know, was really well, I wanted to make a difference, especially after, just seeing so many losses and hardships in this world, and I was really impacted by what was happening in Syria, and the civil war there, and I wanted to make an impact and a change. So I decided to use my running as a platform to raise awareness for what was happening, but also raise funds for an emergency appeal. So that money went towards helping civilians in Syria who were displaced, who needed medical attention, who needed just basic necessities for living, such as shelter, food, water. Um, and that really, yeah, really helped motivate and strive my goal of, I guess, starting the marathon and finishing. And it took a bit of convincing for my coach to let me, but once I explained the reason why I was running the marathon, he was on board, and it was amazing because the community was super supportive, and we ended up raising $5,000 for the charity. And yeah, no, it was so surreal. Um, the marathon that I ran is was Ross Marathon, and it's in beautiful and remote town of Ross in Tasmania. So it was beautiful going there and seeing the community, and it was, yeah, 4 laps of, I think, 10.5 k's, and quite hilly, and it was raining, and but it was amazing, and I managed to finish. Um, and yeah, I was in absolute awe, and I really surprised myself again, just finishing those, that 42K, um, despite the rough conditions, and just having the community support as well, and everyone behind me, and the cause made a massive difference. Yeah, as a 15-year-old, it was a very change for me. It really helped paved the path for me and my running for the future, and also just teaching me about how the community, when we work together, we can make a massive impact on, I guess, really important causes. Yeah, and it really showed me that running isn't so much a solo thing. It really requires a lot of um, contributing factors from others. I wouldn't have been able to finish without the help from my coach, from my family, from my friends, from the community. So yeah, it really taught me so much about running, and I guess really helped me fall in love with the marathon, especially. Mm.
That's incredible. I think from, say such a young age to take on that challenge, but to also raise funds and awareness of something that's very, deep connections for you is what you could see are happening around the world. And then you've done that so many times as well from your running journey. You've been raising awareness for many causes that are really close to your heart. And I think that's super impressive. As you say, bringing a community together, but leaning into having that beautiful community, that supportiveness and getting you through there, and then obviously running now so many different marathons and so many different events that you've, you know, put yourself through that journey of just starting out of that small run, small event, and then moving into, say, at 15 running a marathon and falling in love with running the marathons. And then now for you as well, is part of your career as being a med student as well. How is that with balancing with being a med student and running the marathons as well and training for the marathons?
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act, but I think we've got 24 hours in a day, and it's really important to take time out for yourself. And I find that running it's my form of self-care really, and it helps me to navigate the busyness of life and the challenges of life, And when I put time out for me and focus on my running, I'm able to really be a better version of myself so that I am able to commit to my studies, commit to my family, commit to my well-being as well, my mental health and my physical health. As someone who's a type 1 diabetic who, you know, struggles at times with my depression and anxiety, running plays a pivotal role in helping me manage those challenges, and it's really been a lifeline for me. And I'm very, very grateful for running and how it's helped shape the person that I am today, and how it just helps me just with daily stresses and challenges in life. Yeah.
Yeah, as you say, is that balancing act, and we do have 24 hours in a day to try and get the most out of it. And as you say, you're balancing many different aspects as well. And as you touched on there as well, being a type 1 diabetic as well, you have to balance so many
Mm.
different things. How is that with your running and your training as well? Being able to manage that and being a type 1 diabetic athlete, as well as being, an absolute elite athlete of winning so many recent events as well.
Yeah, no, it's every day is different, but obviously there's ups and downs with being a type 1 diabetic, but I don't let it stop me from giving it a go and giving it a try. And over the years, I've sort of learnt more about how to manage my condition and work around what I can do to maintain my sugar levels through races and through hard training sessions. So it's definitely doable. Just making sure you work alongside your doctors and nurses, and not letting it, the condition stop you from pursuing your hobbies and your commitments. Because sometimes I come across other type 1 diabetics who fear pursuing different, activities or exercises. And I'm like, no, you just gotta, don't let it stop you from, giving it a go. Obviously, do some safety netting around those activities, but it doesn't define you as a person. It's just a condition, and it's manageable. And with the right management, you can do whatever you set your mind to. Absolutely.
And I love what you said there as well of not defining you. I absolutely love that you just feel that as well, that having this, condition and having type 1 diabetes is not defining who you are. And as you say, being
Right.
practical, speaking to, your health practice and practitioners, making sure that you know yourself and your body and what you need. But as you say, not letting it define you. And it definitely hasn't defined you. You've been running absolutely incredible out there. And I'd love to touch on about the Great Ocean Road. Recently, a few weeks back, Great Ocean Road 2026, you were the first female winning the marathon, which is an incredible achievement. But also back in 2024, you won the Great Ocean Road as well marathon. And in between that, you took some time out to become a mum. How was the
Yes.
difference from the 2024 to 2026 coming back as well?
Yeah, definitely. A lot has happened in between 2024 and 2026. Uh, becoming a mum to my son Yasir has been absolutely life changing, and I'm so, so grateful to be his mum. Obviously, there's a lot more to work around with being mum to Yasir. Life isn't as simple as it was before, and I don't take running for granted as much as I did in the past. But it's made me appreciate life so much more. Just being able to be a caregiver and be there for my son is such an important part of my life, and it gives me so much purpose. And also just for my running as well, when, for example, during Great Ocean Road, when I was really pushing and really fighting, those last Ks where it gets really hard, I was like, I'm running for Yasir, and I just pictured him at the finish, and it really, really helped me fight those mental, how during the end of a marathon you go in a really dark headspace. It really helps during those really tough moments. Um, yeah, so just having a greater purpose in life, and you know, trying to be a good role model for him as well has really motivated me. in all aspects of life and including running. So I think it has helped a lot for sure.
Oh, definitely. And I'm sure you're an incredible role model for your son as well. To be able to see you out there, being at the front of the pack, with everyone else around you. And they say Great Ocean Road, 2026, taking out the win there is amazing. And as you touched on there, towards the end of the last few kilometers where it's get really hard to have that extra motivation and extra drive to, picture your son to get to the finish line. That's absolutely incredible. And then touching on, as I say, Great Ocean Road, how was that as well for you? Like I've done the Grey Ocean Road Marathon myself many years ago. I didn't have the best experience. I must say, I wasn't say I was the biggest fan of the Grey Ocean Road with the weather as well plays a big part in it. But how was it for you overall?
Yeah, no, I love, for me, I love the challenge of um, the coastal line. And as you said, the weather's not always perfect. It's often quite overcast and a bit of, headwind and rain. But yeah, for me, I love that challenge. It really moves me outside of my comfort zone. Um, and you can't beat the beautiful views that you come across. It's just you, the coast, the beach, the waves, and the Great Ocean Road, literally. And you really test yourself mentally and physically, and you're at your most vulnerable in some aspects during the race. And yeah, it's such a rewarding feeling crossing that finish line as well. Um, yeah, and for me, I love that challenge. Um, and I think it's important to sometimes really put yourself in that situation. And you learn so much about yourself when you're running and, challenging yourself in that way where you feel like, oh, I can't finish, but you actually, you know, eventually you push through and you manage to get across that finish line. And you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And yeah, that's why I love running so much. It really tests your doubts um, and the mind as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you say, obviously the Great Ocean Road, such a picturesque run as well. So you've got these amazing views throughout the run. And even though, as you say, it can get really challenging, and say I myself found it very challenging many years ago, but you learn so much about yourself in those moments as well. You learn about how you can handle stuff and how you can deal with that real challenge. And I love that about you, that you just take on that challenge and, really work through it and, absolutely smash the Great Ocean Road. It was great to see you, say win again in 2026 to 2024. And then touching on about some of your recent runs as well. I see, recently you've done the Launceston Running Festival as well. You've done the half marathon. How is it feeling for you at the moment of getting back into running and getting back after having your son? How is it feeling getting back into running? Where do you feel you're at the moment? In a really good position?
Yeah, definitely. Each day is different. Yeah, I just listen to my body, and some days, you feel good, other days not so great. And that's part of running. But at the moment, just aiming to improve little by little, not putting too much pressure on myself. And because I really just want to enjoy my running. I know that I've got a lot on my plate at the moment with full-time study and being mum to 10-month-old. It's a lot, and I want running to be a healthy outlet, not a toxic one. So that's my main focus, and yeah, just enjoy it. Like yesterday, as I went to Launceston and ran the half marathon there, and I had no expectations other than to enjoy and listen to my body. And I know that coming off, just Great Ocean Road 2 weeks ago, I yeah listened to my body and um, yeah, I felt pretty good. A little bit, the marathon fatigue I definitely did notice, but I managed to run the race at a even pace, which I was happy with, and enjoy a bit of a road trip, and yeah, make the most of the weekend before heading back home. Yeah, it was good.
And I love what you touched on there, as you say, just enjoying running, getting back to enjoy it, and want running to be that's such enjoyment. And it's so good to hear that as well from yourself of, people out there sometimes sometimes put a little bit too much pressure on ourselves to really go and perform all the time, but to go out there and actually get back into the enjoyment of running and also to perform as well at such a high level is just amazing. And I think that's just good to hear. And I'd love to obviously go back a little bit and touch on about how running really shaped your life as well and how that really helps you. And wanted to touch a little bit about what sort of advice would you give some people that may be going through some really hard times as well, whether it's in life in general or even in running. How did that help you to shape? And what sort of advice would you give to people when they first started getting into running?
Yeah, I really think it's important to listen to yourself and also really reflect on your intentions. So, why are you running and what do you want to get out of it? And um, it's not about comparing yourself to others, it's about working on yourself. And setting achievable goals is really important. For example, when I first started running, I wouldn't be able to, I would run for 1 minute and I would have to stop and take walk breaks, and that was okay. And I listened to my body and, um, don't compare yourself to the progress of someone else because you all have to start somewhere. And most importantly, make it fun. Make sure that you don't put so much pressure on yourself that it becomes this chore. Instead, one tip I gave a friend who recently started running was if you have a playlist, maybe you can make a goal of being able to run for one whole song. That's how I that's one thing that I did when I, first started running, and then just going from there and, yeah, doing runs with other people, joining run groups, park runs. That's another really good way of, getting into that momentum of running. Because I know that, sometimes being on your own can be quite isolating, quite difficult. So having someone to keep you accountable, but also having that social aspect is really, really important, especially for your mental health and just general well-being. Um, and I think, yeah, just really just, as I mentioned, reflecting on your intentions, making sure that you're running for the right reasons and not, um, you know, having good goals in your sights. And being patient with yourself is really, really important as well. And just trusting the process. Things take time. You might, a lot of people will watch these elite runners and they're like, oh, wow, they must have that just naturally, but they put in a lot of work and it takes years and years and years and years of
Yeah.
training and consistency. And yeah, just have to trust the process.
And I love what you said there as well about not comparing yourself to others. We're all on different journeys, we're all on different paths. And, to start out, it might be the case that you're only running for a minute and you have to stop for a bit. But we all start somewhere. We all kind of get into what we want to get into running for. And I love what you touched on there about, not comparing yourself to others and also not looking at, the elites are going, oh, it comes naturally because it doesn't. It's a lot of hard work. And you are, absolutely a person that can show all of that hard work as well, from where you started your running journey to where you are now. You've put in so much
Yeah.
hard work to get to where you are, and that's amazing. And I think it's so good to see that. And as you say, talk about it as well as that, having those goals, achievable goals that you want to set out to. But the most important thing is enjoy it, and then finding other people to enjoy it with, as well is such a really important thing. And as you say, before we sort of wrap up the podcast as well, I'd love to touch on a few things of what's next for you. As I say, we had the Great Ocean Road Marathon recently, and you say had a nice weekend away running the Launceston Half Marathon. What's the next plans for you and your next goals that you'd like to achieve?
Yeah, definitely. I do want to hopefully, depending on how the body feels, run Sydney Marathon. Now that it's a world major, that would be such a cool goal to tick off.
Yeah.
And then possibly Melbourne Marathon as well later on. And focus on just, yeah, getting stronger over that distance and hopefully maybe a PB. That would be great. But if not, just, yeah, make the most of it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what we're there for, isn't it? Hopefully, we can you can make those PBs, but you say if not, just enjoying it and yeah, having that moment of really loving your running journey and loving getting into running. And yeah, obviously, we wish you all the best. If it is Sydney, if it is Melbourne, we'd hopefully see you along there as well. But we wish you all
Thank
the
you.
best. And I really do thank you for taking the time out to join in the show and sharing and such an amazing insight into your journey as well, not only in your running journey but in your life as well. It's been amazing to hear it from yourself and just to be a part of that as well. And I wish you nothing but the best in your future races.
Thank you so much, Clint. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for having me on the podcast. It's been great just having a chat.
No, I really do appreciate it, as I said. And as I said, that's it for this week. But as always, until next time, happy running.